There are jobs you take because you're desperate, not because they're good, not because they make sense, just because the rent is due, the bank account is empty, and somebody, somewhere, is offering you money. That's the headspace I was in when I saw the ad. Stapled to a tree on a random city street. 5 words that would completely change my life. Wanted, weekend house sitter. $500 a day. I should have kept walking. I really should have kept walking. I just graduated college. Debt was piling up faster than I could manage. And every month felt like a race between my paycheck and my landlord. So when I saw that flyer, asterisk no pet sitting, no babysitting. 3 days and 2 nights, food covered. $500 per day asterisk. I didn't walk away. I called the number. Her name was Agatha. She picked up on the second ring, like she'd been expecting me. She understood that the offer sounded too good to be true, and she told me to Google her. So I did. Turns out, Agatha had been one of the most respected fashion critics in the country a decade ago, known for predicting trends before they happened. Born into old money, retired into even older money. And she was loaded. The kind of loaded where the number in her bank account had more commas than a grammar textbook. She told me the job was simple: arrive Friday at 10 a.m. sharp. Don't leave until Sunday afternoon. Bring everything I'd need. Follow the rules. She'd leave on the kitchen table. She mentioned that if things went well, she'd hire me back for future weekends at double the rate. I did the math. $3,000 a weekend. The word yes was out of my mouth before my brain could catch up. The house was exactly what you'd picture when someone says old money. 3 stories, gleaming white, a balcony overlooking the front lawn, flower beds that looked like they'd never had the nerve to grow a weed. And at the center of the garden, a golden statue made entirely of brass instruments. Trumpets, violins, cellos, all fused together into one strange sculpture. I remember thinking, okay, eccentric, but rich people are always a little eccentric. Then I saw the dolls. Standing on poles on either side of the porch were 2 figures, each one about 6 feet tall, made of burlap, no mouths, just 2 massive black circles stitched into their faces where the eyes should be. One was dressed like a Victorian gentleman, black suit, mop-top yarn hair. The other wore a mauve ballet dress, black leggings, yarn hair twisted into a sloppy bun. They had this dark, storybook quality to them, like something out of a Tim Burton nightmare. I told myself it was just an eccentric hobby. Rich people collect weird things. I was wrong. Stay with me. Because what happened at 9 o'clock that first night, I'm still not entirely sure how to explain it. Agatha barely had time to say hello before her taxi pulled up. She handed off the house, pointed me to the kitchen, and was gone. On the table, written on custom stationery, was her list of rules. Some of them were totally normal. Feed the goldfish once a day. Don't smoke inside. Put books back where you found them. But then there were the others. Rule 2. Every night at 9 o'clock sharp, you must be in the living room, staring out the picture window. You must watch everything they do. Do not look away. They like an audience. When they bow, clap 3 times and close the curtains. Rule 6. On Saturday night, leave a paper plate of frozen, crinkle-cut carrot slices on the welcome mat by 6 o'clock. Don't worry about getting the plate back. They never leave leftovers. Rule 7. Ross, the gardener, comes Saturday morning. Jeb, the special gardener, comes Saturday evening. Do not speak to either of them. And do not let Jeb know I'm not home. And Rule 8. Do not make any noise while watching them. They will excuse a sneeze or a cough. Anything else will make them unhappy. They. Every other rule had this word in it like a warning. I wasn't supposed to understand yet. I had a knot in my stomach. But the rent was due. So I decided to follow every single rule. After dinner, pizza, because I wasn't about to cook in a stranger's kitchen. I watched the clock creep toward 9. The living room was massive. The picture window took up almost the entire wall, framed by deep red velvet curtains that reminded me of a theater stage. I stood there looking out. The porch light illuminated the garden. The brass statue gleamed. The dolls stood on their poles, still and lifeless. Their hollow black eyes pointed forward. I almost laughed at myself for being nervous. Then the clock hit 9, and the dolls jumped off their poles. No warning, no sound. One moment they were statues. The next, they were moving. The male doll extended his arm. The female doll took it. Together, they walked toward the center of the garden, right in my line of sight. The male doll reached out and touched the brass statue, and music began to play. Not from a speaker. Not from anywhere I could identify. Eerie, unearthly music, the kind that doesn't belong in any genre, doesn't follow any pattern a human being would write. And then, they danced. It wasn't a waltz. It wasn't anything I'd ever seen before. They moved in perfect time to the music, never once looking away from each other. Dipping, spinning, pulling close, stepping back. My heart was hammering so loud I was sure they could hear it. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. I could only stare. And then the music stopped. The dolls stopped. And they turned to face me. They'd known I was there the entire time. I stood perfectly still as those hollow black eyes focused on me. Then, in perfect unison, they bowed. I remembered the rule. With shaking hands. I clapped 3 times and yanked those curtains shut as fast as I could. Then I ran. I wish I could tell you that was the scariest thing that happened that weekend. But I sprained my ankle on Saturday. And that's when I found out what Rule 5 was actually for. Rule 5 said, asterisk if you are injured or feel sick. Sleep on the couch on the back patio. Be there by 9, and you'll feel better by morning. Asterisk. After tripping over my own sneaker and badly spraining my ankle Saturday afternoon, I figured this was at least a silver lining. I wouldn't have to limp to the living room window and watch the dolls. I settled onto that back patio couch. Pillows propped under my foot. Blanket pulled up. The most comfortable I'd been all weekend. I closed my eyes, and then I heard the music. The same eerie, unearthly sound from the night before. Except this time, it stopped mid-note. Then, footsteps. 2 sets of footsteps. Light, precise, in perfect sync. Getting closer. The back patio door opened. I pulled the blanket over my face and lay completely still. Every instinct I had was screaming at me to run. But with my ankle the way it was, there was nowhere to go. The blanket was ripped off. The female doll stood right next to my head. She covered my mouth with one hand before I could scream. Then, with the other hand, she started slowly stroking my hair. At the foot of the couch, the male doll was holding my swollen ankle. Both of them were staring directly at me. He raised his hand. He snapped, and everything went black. I woke up to sunlight streaming through the glass. I sat up and looked at my ankle. It was perfectly fine. No swelling, no bruising, not even a twinge of pain. I stood on it to be sure. Good as new, like it had never happened. When Agatha came home Sunday afternoon, she made tea and finally told me the truth. She'd been 50 when her health started declining. With her wealth, she was a target for thieves and worse. A man named Jeb's brother had approached her, told her he had something that could protect her and keep her healthy. All they asked in return was an audience. The morning after she agreed, she found the 2 dolls in her yard. A week later, she caught a brutal flu, and in the middle of the night, they came into her house and cured her, just like they'd cured my ankle. She'd slowly come to understand. They were protectors. Ancient, strange, unknowable, but protectors. As long as someone watched them dance, they kept their end of the bargain. That's why I almost never leave, she told me. Someone has to be here. Someone has to watch. Her brother-in-law had died in a car accident. Her sister needed her. She'd had no choice but to leave, and no choice but to find someone she could trust to take her place. Before I left that Sunday, she said something I never forgot. Just be glad they enjoy an audience, she told me, her voice dropping low. If they ever find that you missed a performance, without good reason. She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. I became Agatha's regular house sitter after that. For a year, it was peaceful, profitable, almost routine, until my sister Melanie decided to pay a visit. And she showed up 30 minutes before the dolls came alive. Let me paint you a picture of my sister Melanie. She was the kind of person who treated everyone around her like props in her own personal drama. She'd been expelled from college for screaming slurs at a fellow student. She'd sold our grandmother's car without asking. She'd burned through 9 jobs and 4 relationships in 3 years. And somehow, every single time, it was never her fault. She'd been trying to mooch off of family members ever since our parents cut her off. And when Mom let slip that I had a well-paying job working for a rich woman, Melanie decided she wanted it. She showed up at Agatha's front door at 8:30, suitcase in hand, acting like I'd personally arranged her employment. I tried to get her out. I pleaded with her. The clock was ticking. 8:40, 8:50. I needed her gone. Instead, she called me names, grabbed one of Agatha's antique bottles off a shelf, asterisk smashed it against the wall, asterisk, and came at me with the broken glass. I ran outside, through the back door, onto the patio, and as I ran, I heard it. The music. It was 9 o'clock, and I had broken the rules. Melanie tackled me on the patio. I hit the ground hard. She got on top of me, broken bottle aimed at my throat, completely unhinged, completely beyond reasoning with. I pushed back with everything I had. The glass pressed against my neck. I could feel it cutting. Then Melanie stopped. Her eyes went wide, looking at something behind me. She was lifted off of me. I pressed my hand to my neck. Shallow cuts, nothing more, and looked up. The male doll was holding my sister in the air like she weighed nothing. The female doll knelt down and lifted me. The music swelled. Out in the garden, the male doll carried Melanie into the center of the grass. He began to dance, a slow, elaborate solo, and as he spun her, I watched the fight go out of my sister's eyes. She went still. Then she started to smile. A dazed, wondering smile, like someone deep in a dream. He set her down. They waltzed together, her following his lead, turning and turning and turning as the music built to a crescendo. Then the female doll turned me away from the garden. There was the sound of ripping fabric. And then Melanie screamed. Just once. Then nothing. When the male doll came back, he was alone. The female doll touched my neck, examining the cuts. She snapped, and I was out. The next morning, the local news reported that a woman's body had been found in the woods, nearly a mile away. Her broken-down car was nearby. The official ruling, mauled by a bear or some kind of large animal. No one grieved especially hard. When Agatha heard the news and called me, she wasn't surprised. It wasn't the first time, she said simply. I asked her what would have happened if I had missed a performance without an excuse. If I'd just not shown up at that window one night. She was quiet for a long moment. Don't ever find out, she said. Agatha drafted her will recently. She's leaving the house to me. I've already decided to sell it. The money will clear the last of my debts, and honestly, I don't need a mansion. I never did. I spoke to Jeb about the dolls. Asked if he could move them somewhere. Take them with him when the house sells. He said it was impossible. The house is their home now. So to whoever ends up buying that beautiful white mansion with the brass statue in the garden and the two burlap figures standing guard by the porch. The rules will be on the kitchen table. Follow them. Every single one. Because they've always got eyes on the audience. And they do not perform for an empty house. If you want more stories like this one, subscribe and hit the bell. I post every week. And if you've ever had an experience you can't explain, drop it in the comments. I read every single one. Stay safe out there.